Hey everyone, Darren Connell here. Welcome back to my studio. Let me just check that everything's on. Microphone is on, music is on. It's counting up, which means it's recording. We're good. Welcome back to my studio. Welcome to part 11 of the Kylo Ren tutorial. I'm just going to take my hoodie off because I've just realised I'm too hot, as you can tell by my bright red face. I put the heating on and I forgot to turn it down. And I can't be asked going to do it now because I've just started a video. Okay, so Kylo Ren. Last time we were doing his eyes. We'd done the first layers of the base colour of the eyes, the whites of his eyes essentially. And some of the shading, the red and pink in the corners, and some of the grey shading that I had, and stuff like that. We may do more of that as the eyes progress, but for now they're done. So what we're going to do is the eyelashes and the round bit, the irises. That's what they're called. So we're going to do those. Let's do them now. I'll bring in the camera, the overhead camera, and we can just get straight into it, I suppose. Okay, so that looks about right. Let's switch to the overhead camera and see what it looks like. So a little bit, where are we? That way. Alright, move this. A little bit that way. Right. There's that. The focus. I must have had the focus up higher last time because I was showing you what I was doing. I suppose I can leave it there for now because we're going to be doing lots of close-up work on the eye, so maybe I'll leave it there for now. I know it means that all of this stuff down here is out of focus, but anytime I need to show you something, I'll try and lift it up to the camera to show you. So here's Kylo. I've got to be careful because if I pull it down this way, you can see the shadow on the bottom of his face. That's the actual camera causing the shadow because the light is behind it. What I need to do, if I bring this a little bit further forward but point the camera up a bit instead of straight down, that helps with the shadow. See, if I point the camera straight down, especially when you bring it close, it does that. Not too bad when it's far away, but you bring it close, it gets a bit shadowy. So we just point it up a little bit, it just avoids most of the shadow. I don't need to do it that close, so a little bit of shadow that close doesn't make any difference. In fact, what I could do, what I did last time, because when I'm down here, that works. As it is, let me bring up my webcam settings. When you get closer to the camera, you're also getting closer to the light. You can see it on, if you look at me in the corner down here, see that big strip of light? As you get closer to the camera, it gets closer to the light, which means that things sort of get bleached out a bit. So if I can go on to my camera settings for the overhead camera, let's see, in fact I can raise, where's the focus? There's the focus. I raise the focus a little bit more, so somewhere about there. Just lift it up a little bit more so I can rest on my elbow. There you go, that's a good height. So you can see that's a little bit, the face is okay, the forehead is a bit bleached out unless I tilt it. So if I can just turn down the brightness gain a little bit, that's a bit better. So when I want to show you something, you can see it all like that. And if I need to reset it, I can just flick it back to how it was. Okay, so eyelashes. Now when I do eyelashes, I mentioned this I think in the last video, so I won't go over it fully again, but I don't usually paint individual eyelashes because I don't like how it looks. I normally just paint the impression of eyelashes using repeated little dots, little blobs of colour building up in different shades, and that usually works well enough for most characters. Now if you got like a woman with really big eyelashes, then it works to point to I can't even talk. It works well to paint them like that. I think I painted them like that with Buffy, I can't remember, but for most characters I don't, especially male characters. I'm still not sure what I'm going to do here yet. I haven't decided, but I think what I know I'm going to do on the top is do it the way that I normally do. I haven't decided for the bottom of his eyes yet, but his top eyelashes, I'm going to do it how I normally do it. So the colours I'm going to need, wrong camera and wrong focus level. You know what, I'll leave the focus there, I'll bring them up to camera. So I'm going to use, actually that is way too close. No, that's the zoom. Get the focus down. Focus. So I'm going to use neutral grey. I'm going to use, what do I want to put it? I'm going to use black brown. I'm going to use some skin colour, beige red, and we'll work with those for now and see how it goes. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to paint using the dotting technique. It's almost like painting a line across the eyelashes. The way I used to do it, imagine the top eyelid, where there would be the line of eyelashes. Now, when I started 13 years ago, I just painted a dark line on the top of the eyes because that's how action figures were 13 years ago. But even with that, the way I was painting it was still looking better because I used different colours, but it was essentially a line. But now I add a bit more, it's a bit more broken up, a little bit more variation, not individual hairs, but enough to make it look like it's not a singular painted line, almost like calligraphy, just painting a line across the top of the head. We don't want it to look like that. So we're going to go bing, 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 across with tiny little dots and build it up from that. So I will use that brush because that's a nice small pointy brush. Let's start with, I'm going to start with a lighter colour. I'm going to, how do I want to do this? Let me think. I'm thinking live on air here. I'm going to do a mixture. So I'm going to, I forgot to shake them again. I always forget to shake them. So I'm going to get some black brown. Let's chuck some of that down. I'm going to get a little bit of, forgot to shake it again. A little bit of the flesh colour, the beige red. Put that down. I'm putting it down. Just put the black brown there. Put the beige red there. I'm just putting them down so I can select from them as I, decide what I need. And a bit of grey in the middle there. So let me lift the focus up a bit. I've got my flow enhancer off to one side. I've got the lid off it so I can just dip in as I need. I've got my water off to one side just so I can dip in it as I need it. So I'm going to do a line of, let me have a look at, okay, so I did shadows already and it was like a dark red. So what I'm going to do, let's see, let's get some grey. I'll mix it up over here. Where's my focus? I haven't even paid attention to where the focus is. Not quite that high. Okay, about there, so my elbow right on the corner. I'm trying to find where I can lean my arm. Okay, so anywhere there will let you see it. So got some grey here. I'm going to put a little bit of black brown in it. There you go. I'm going to put a little bit of the skin colour to line it up a little bit. And let's go a bit more black brown. And now I'm going to thin it down, which will change how it looks again. So I'm just using some water for now. And then I'm just going to take a little drop of flow enhancer. Don't need too much. So it's that sort of colour. Now that actually might be a little bit lighter than what I need, so I'm going to drop in some more. It's difficult with the light being in the same place as the camera because I have to tilt the thing to show you how it looks. Alright. So that sort of colour will do. Thinned it right down. Where are we? Try and show you. Try and do it in a way that it doesn't. There you go. So that colour. I'm going to put this back down. I'm going to just wipe off the excess off the brush. Let's have a look. So where's the focus? So it's going on thin. You can see the. It's going on, but it's thin, which is what we want. So I'm just going to mix it up, get rid of the excess. Now let's see. I'm going to have to try and do this in a way where you can see, but where I can see as well. I'm going to raise the focus up, and I'm going to also bring the camera physically down towards the desk so that ideally I can lean on the desk with my elbow. Let's raise the focus up. Let's tilt that forward a bit more so we remove those shadows. Okay. So where are we? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to try it this way first, and then I might have to turn the head around if this doesn't work. Because it's really difficult because I've got to put it in the right place on the screen and then look down over the top of my glasses to see what I'm painting and try not to hit the camera like I just did. It's so close to the camera. I mean, it's too close to the camera if anything, because it makes it really difficult. I've got to be careful not to touch the eyeball. Oh, this is difficult. Now I've done a big splodge on the front of the eyelid there, which I will have to fix. So let me grab another brush, pour a bit of water on it, and go in and wipe off that excess. Still a bit dark, but could do with being a little bit thinner, so we added a little bit more water to it. It's super difficult doing it this close to the camera because the camera gets in the way and physically stops me painting. You know what I'm going to have to do? Is lower the focus a bit and try and do it like that so you can sort of see what I'm working on. but maybe not see as much detail, but at least it lets me do the painting. So what I'm doing is I'm going along the line of where the eyelashes would be and where the shadow of the eyelid would be. And I'm essentially, if I exaggerate it, I'm going blob, 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 like that, all along the eyelid. Now, when you see it without an iris and with just one colour, it looks really weird and drastic, but it's the start of how I do it. So I build up like that. What I'll do, I'll go straight into my next thing, which is getting more black brown, thinning that down more but having a darker colour, just wiping off some of the excess, and same thing again. Where's the camera? Okay. And I'm doing exactly the same, but instead of doing little dots this time, I'm doing slight strokes upwards. They're not hairs, I'm just giving a little bit of length to them. I'm just using some of that colour to strengthen the shadow underneath the eyelid, because I usually want that to be a bit darker. And then what I'm going to do is take some of the skin colour, thin it right down and mix it with a bit of the grey. And what I often do is go back on top with a thinned down fleshy grey colour, but really thinned down, and this lets me, where's the camera? Oh no, oh no. Wet brush, wipe it off. Get some kitchen roll, wipe it off while it's wet. Get the wet brush again. Do that. Get the kitchen roll, wipe it off, but being careful to not wipe off the paint that I've done on the skin. Just, you know. So that's okay. Got it back. This is why painting detail stuff under the camera is really difficult. And I normally prefer to do that kind of stuff off camera, but I'm supposed to be trying to show you what I'm doing. Okay, so it's when I'm moving my hands and looking at the screen, I can't tell where things are. Okay, so I've got a watered down, fleshy coloured grey, and I'm just going on top and I'm doing little blobs, little almost hair-shaped things, but dotted along the line. And what it does is it breaks it up. It gives the impression that you're seeing skin through the hairs, but it also makes it look like maybe you're seeing reflections, you know, highlights off the eyelashes. And as with everything else, it just adds a little bit of a extra layer of something. Now that looks really dramatic there. And I think what I'm going to do is on that bit there. In fact, I could probably do it a little bit with this colour. Just take down some of the what am I trying to say? The dark colour that I accidentally, too liquidy. The dark colour that I accidentally put on the eyelid, I'm just going to do a little bit of a wash above just to lighten that up a bit. Okay, that's looking good. Now, it's hard to tell without everything else, but as a start, that will do. What I'm going to do, because it's actually making it really difficult, I'm going to lift the camera back up, get it higher up. So if you look me in the corner, the camera is here now. I had it down here, which was too much in the way of what I needed to do. And what I might try and do, if I am needing to show anything, maybe I'll do it with a digital zoom, which isn't ideal, but at least it means I can paint and, you know, not paint brown paint all over his face like I just did, which isn't ideal. It's not the best thing to do. Okay, so that's about the level of the focus. So if I can paint there, which I should be able to, then we're going to be alright. Okay, so what I'm going to do, how do I want to do the... Okay, so for his lower eyelashes, I'm looking at pictures of him. I'm going to get some of that dark greyish brown colour that I had. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to mix, in fact I haven't got any of it out, I'm going to mix some red into it, just a little bit. I mean, I could have mixed some brown into it. It was a sort of a gamble of how I wanted to go, but if I mix that to make that dark grey a bit more red, bit more brown, wouldn't have really made any difference, but it was just up to me how I did it. That's actually a bit too red now, so I'm just going to add some more. Let's go with some more black brown, and it sort of makes it a little bit purplish, which is what I want. So I'm going to take that, pour a bit of it down here, and super thin it right down. Let's get the excess off my brush, wipe that down. So we're working with that colour. So what I'm going to do is get that colour. Let's see how it goes onto my thumb. Yeah, that's okay. So where's the focus? The focus is about here. So what I'm going to do is along where the lower eyelashes would be, I'm going to paint some little tiny dots, almost eyelash shaped. I'm not trying to paint specific individual eyelashes. I just want it to be something a little bit darker, but it's just a bit of an impression of what might be there. Where's that spur brush gone? Just one of the hairs, but not hairs, that I'd done was a bit too dark. I'm probably going to go back and touch those up. Probably can't even see what I'm doing here. Let me... try and show you a bit. And this is before I've touched them up. I don't think they're going to show because it is very subtle. Well, you can sort of see along that bottom edge sort of reddish brownish dots. They're actually slightly hair shaped. They're not exactly round dots, but they are enough to create the impression of something being there, which is what I want. And what I'll do is go over them and either tone them down with some skin colour if I need to, or go over with maybe a bit more black brown to darken them if I need that. Where's the focus again? Let's up the focus a little bit. I'm not talking here because I'm sort of holding my breath. Using the same colour, adds a bit more water in just to stop it drying out so quickly. Okay, so what I'm going to do, there's one bit on there where one of the dots, one of the hairs that I did, was a bit too dark, a bit too heavy. So I've just taken some of the skin colour, added a dot of red, and I'm just going over it to shorten it and lighten it down a little bit. And what I'll also do is mix some red with the skin colour. I'm going to make a pinky colour. I've actually got a skin colour that's quite pink. I could have used that, but I started mixing before I actually looked what I had on my desk. Because I'm still getting used to these paints, a lot of the colours I don't have in my memory yet of, oh, there's that colour, I know I used that when, and I don't have that. So some of these colours, salmon rose, when the hell do I use that? I don't know. So I'm not used to all of them. Some of them I'll go, oh, I can use that when I'm doing this. A lot of the time, like just now, I'm sort of aiming for a similar colour, but what I did was just go, oh, well, I've got some of that skin colour and I've got some of that red, and I'll mix those and I'll get... So I just started mixing as, you know, almost like a reflex. I was on autopilot. But it would have done the same job. So I'm just making a... Where's the camera? A sort of skin colour there, like a salmon-ish colour. And what I want to do is go in behind those eyelashes that I've just done. And just make a bit of a line up against where it would be touching the eye. And same on the other side. Okay, that'll do for now. So I think what we can do now, I think a lot of this detail around the eyes, whether it's the eye lashes themselves or shading around the skin around the eyes, or even shading on the eyes themselves, you know, on the eyeballs, I think a lot of that is going to be touched up as we go along, because we're not at the end yet. We're not near the end yet. But what we can do is move on and then come back to those when we've seen a little bit more of how stuff's going to look. Now then, I'm going to do the irises now. We're going to start the irises. I'm just seeing, I know what sort of brush I want, but a few of these have gone a little bit old and bendy, but I don't want to use the super long thin ones because they're actually not the best for painting irises. Let me see what I've got over here. See, some of these I've not used for a while. I just want to see how good they are. That might work. I really should have done this beforehand, but I hadn't even thought about the fact that some of my brushes might not be any good. Because you can have the tiniest, thinnest... Actually, that one that might be good. Let's try that one. You can have the tiniest, thinnest, brush in the world, and the ones that I use for small details are these Raphael ones, which have really great points. They're really good, but they're so long and delicate by the time you get to the end that they're actually not the best shape for getting the main body of the iris down. Now, doing the iris, I think I normally do it with my old MP paints that I used to use. These ones. I used to do it with I forgot what it was called now. Something grey. Now, the one that I've got here is neutral grey. It's about the same. It's a different shade, but I can still work with it. What I think I'm going to do is get some of that and mix a bit of... let's mix a bit of mahogany brown with it. So we're going to have some grey. In fact, we've still got that grey down there, haven't we? That we were working with. And we're going to drop some mahogany brown on the thing. So mahogany brown is that colour. And what I'm going to do is just mix a dark grey. Where's the focus? Seems half my life is spent going, where's the focus? Oh, I held it up close, didn't I? Okay. Oh, and then I moved the camera. That's the thing. So if I put that there where my elbow is, if I'm leaning on my elbow. Okay, so that's too high. That's about right. So let's get some grey. Let's get some brown. And I basically want a dark, I might even add a bit of black brown to it to make it darker. Let's do that. Really hard trying to, because I'm holding it under the camera, I can hardly see it myself. So I'm just going to throw some water on there, which is going to make it way too runny, but it at least lets me see it. A bit of the browns. That'll do. So I'm just going to put a drop of what's it called? Flow enhancer. And that'll do. So let's use this brush that I was guessing might work. It's a small tiny one, but it's short, and that makes it easier for doing this normally. Now, this is where you decide what expression. I should have done this before I mix the paint, which will start drying. This is where you decide what expression you want to give it. You can have a person, if you position the irises on the eyeballs, now you can see where I'm looking at my screen here, I'm looking up and that way, exaggerated, but from you, I'm looking up there, because my preview screen is, there's where you are, my preview screen is just there on my computer monitor, so I'm looking up and away. If I'm looking at you, you can, if you put an eyeball sort of, let's take my glasses off, if you put the eyeball right in the middle, so it's looking straight out and straight ahead, then that has a more neutral feel to it than if you paint the eye looking up, sort of out under the eyebrows where you're doing that. And that can be more dramatic. Like if it's an angry character and you want them to, you would normally pose them in a little bit angry, you could paint the eyes a little bit higher on the eyeball, and it lets you do poses like that instead of looking like that. Now, if you paint them on the bottom half, then it gets all weird because they end up looking like that. But some characters on some scenes from films, if you're trying to replicate individual scenes, you could do them like that. Also, doing them off to the side. I did years ago a Legolas from Lord of the Rings, and I did the eyes so far, like right in the corners, because I wanted the character to be holding a bow and arrow, and I wanted him to be looking off to the side as he was doing it. So I painted his eyes way in the corner, and when you do that, it has two effects. It limits the posing possibility for you playing with your figure on the shelf, because if it's in the middle or slightly up, so a little bit like that, you have more opportunities to pose in certain ways because it's quite neutral and you can do whatever. If you do something dramatic and have it looking out the side, you have to always pose your figure doing something where he's looking over there. But at the same time, it also adds loads of character, so it can be really good and a good way to differentiate yours from everybody else who owns every other Hot Toys figure of the same character, because they're all quite, they just sort of stand there like that. If you can put something in your eyes and make them really angry, or looking off to the side, or looking up, or do something with them, it differentiates and makes them really full of character. Now, Kylo, we know he's angry, but this face to me is more of a talking to the person in front of him face than, you know, screaming at someone and that lightsaber belongs to me. You know, it's not that. It's more of a talking to someone face. Maybe right before he blows up and starts smashing things. So his eyes are going to be quite neutral. I don't want them to be like properly neutral, where, you know, his eye is going into the bottom eyelid, which it could be. You look at lots of pictures of Adam Driver, you'll see that. But I want it to be slightly up, but not a huge amount. So let's see how we're going to do this. So when I'm painting eyes, when I start doing the irises, different people do this in different ways. Where's my resting point? About there. First thing I do is put a dot on the eye, trying to imagine where I think paint on the brush has started to dry already. Put a dot on the eye. Alright, there's the resting point. Trying to imagine where I want the centre to be, where I want the pupil to be. Roughly, and you get a bit of leeway with this. So I've just done a dot there. That's actually off to one side because I'm not looking at it properly because I'm trying to do it under the camera, which makes it difficult. But like I said, you get a bit of leeway here. So if I can move that over, and I've realised this isn't the best brush, but we'll give it a go for now. Now, as I can see, because I'm paying too much attention to the camera, where is the focus? So it's even lower. I actually need it to be a bit further over. That's a bit more central. I'm going to do one on the other side. And by doing just a little dot, instead of painting the circle straight away, I know some people go on and they just go zoom and paint the circle in one go. And honestly, I'm not that good. I can't do that, which is one reason why I don't do it. The other reason is I like having flexibility of, as I'm going, being able to slightly adjust the eye, left, right, up and down, going by where I want it to go. And it also lets me adjust the positioning and the size depending on one, how I want it to look, and two, whether I'm doing it right. So I just started filling that in there, and you can see straight away all of a sudden it starts looking like something. So let's do the same. Now I normally just take the dot that I've already done, make it a bit bigger, let it dry, look at it, make it a bit bigger and build it up. I'm actually going in fairly quick with this and making it larger straight away. I will have to change brushes in a bit because the point on this brush just isn't accurate enough, and I've just dropped it anyway. Oh my god. So, see, that actually looks, that's looking a little bit off to one side, and it actually looks really, really good, but it's not what I want. Unless I carry on and then decide, you know what, that actually is better. So I'm going to take more on this side, fill that up a bit. Now what I often do when I'm doing this, if I realise that I've got it in slightly the wrong place, you can take the base colour of the eyeball, the white of the eye, and sorry, wasn't even on camera. You can take the base colour, the white of the eye, if you've done it wrong, and reposition the eyeball by painting over some of the dark iris that you've just done with the white of the eye colour, and it lets you, move the eyeball around to wherever you need it. If you can get it right in one go, just using the dot colour, that's obviously better. Forgive me for being quiet, but I was holding my breath when I was painting, and then I was concentrating. Now you can see the eyes are a little bit wonky and one's a different size, and that happens that when I am trying to get the positioning right. I will admit I am not the best at painting eyes. I mean, my eyes always look good in the end, but when I'm actually painting them, I'm a bit rubbish. Also, doing them on camera is terrible because I normally take my time to get them right, and trying to do them sort of quickly in one go is always difficult. Okay, so let me just look at this for a sec. See, the difficult part as well is the head is, because I'm pointing it at the camera, is actually not looking at me, and that makes it difficult to get the positioning right because I need to look at the head straight on to see where it's pointing and where I need it to be. So what I'm going to do is be slightly less considerate to you guys, and every now and then, instead of trying to do the whole thing up for the camera, I'm just going to take it and look at it myself. Sometimes I cover one eye and cover the other eye to see how it's sitting. Sometimes I'll turn the head upside down to see how it's sitting, to see how things look. And as I've always said, and I always say when I'm doing these things, if you get it wrong, it doesn't matter, because you can just do it again. Even if you think, oh no, I've already painted it and it's already dried and I can't wipe it off and it's done and now I've ruined it. You haven't ruined it. Nothing has ever ruined it. You just, if you do it and you realise it's wrong, you do it again and you get a bit better. It's never the end of the world, which you might think when you're doing it. And I've done it as well myself. When I'm doing a thing, I'm getting it just perfect, just perfect, just perfect, and then I do it too much. It's like, oh no, I've got to do the whole thing now. And you know, in that moment, you always think you ruined it. You haven't ruined it. It's just a toy, and you can always repaint it a bit different. So that's what happens. And you know, I used to do my eyes very differently, and they had much less detail than they end up having now, because I ended up doing things wrong and ended up making mistakes, and nothing is ever ruined. You just get better. I've just smudged a bit. Where's that small brush? That one will do. Okay, I'll do. I dropped a bit that was slightly out of place and it ruined it. So you can see we're getting closer to the eyes being in the right place and being of the right size. Now, oh, excuse me. Oh, excuse me again. I've got the burps. What I'm going to do, and I actually think I'm going to do this off camera, just because I can. Like I said, I'm no good at painting eyes. Well, not this part of painting eyes anyway. This part, for me, getting them I can't even say the word. Getting them exactly in the same place, because the eyes, the irises, have to be 100% the same size and 100% looking in the same direction. Now they're not at the moment. They are very much not. I can see one is a bit bigger. I can see they're both slightly pointing in different directions, and they're not necessarily pointing in the right direction that I want. But for this part, where I hone that down and make them exactly how I want them, for me, because I'm not the best painter in the world, it can take me ages. So I'm not going to do all of that on camera, because it could take, I could get it done in 10 minutes. That happens. It could also take me 3 hours. Sometimes I just can't get it right, and I'm not going to put you through that. So what I'm going to do with this, as you've just seen, as you've just watched me do, I'm going to take a small brush. I actually think I'm going to change from that little green brush that I was using, and I might go to one of those good Raphael brushes. Now that I've got most of the paint down, I might use this to try and go around the edges and get the better shape. So I'm going to do that with the grey that I've got, and I'm also going to take, if I need to, some of the white of the eye. In this case it was ivory with a bit of grey and a bit of yellow ochre, I think. And if I need to, if I've done, let's say I've done this eye a bit too far that way, then what I would do is take the ivory and just paint off a bit of the edge on this side, and then take the grey and add on a bit more on this side. So you're basically just moving the iris from here to here. Exaggerated, but that's what you're doing. So you can move it around just by using that base colour to move bits if you need to move it. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to get those eyes looking in the same place and looking in the direction that I want, and the level of, you know, angry versus, you know, regular man on the street. And they're sort of in the right place for that. The amount of height that I want. I might drop them down a little bit so that they are, the bottom of the iris is touching the bottom eyelid. I don't want it to be underneath the bottom eyelid, but I might want it just clipping it. That's quite a neutral and slightly, not angry, but, you know, looking up a little bit ahead, face, expression. That's the word, expression. So I'm going to do that and get both of those matching and in the right place. Once I've done that, I will come back in part 12. Did I say this was 11? I think I said this was 11. We'll come back in part 12, and then what we'll do is we'll work on the colour on the irises. So we'll start adding brown. Now he's got quite dark, they almost look black. They're not. They're brown with a little bit of green, it seems, but you don't want to paint, this is something we'll talk about in the next video, you don't want to paint eyes. You can see pictures of people, of actors, where they've got flashes in the face, like, you know, bright spotlights, because the paparazzi have been taking photos, there's loads of bright light in the face, and you can really see the faces lit up. And when you see their eyes like that, their eyes are way brighter than they normally are, but you get to see the colours. And it's great for knowing what colours someone's eyes are, but don't paint them like that, because they never look like that. You see them normally on the street, on the film set, you know, on your screen. They always look darker. So it's good knowing what the colours are, but paint them as you see them. Now, in some cases, like with Legolas, he's got bright blue eyes, and sometimes his eyes look really bright blue, but sometimes they look almost black. If he's out running across mountaintops and you see him, his eyes might look really, really dark. So paint them as you see them, not as you know they are. That's how I do them. So they are brown with a little bit of green, a little bit slightly light around the edges, and it's good knowing that, but we're not going to overdo that. We're going to keep them dark because that's how he looks most of the time you see him. So we'll do that in the next video. Maybe some more work on the eyelashes, maybe some more work around the skin. Maybe we'll start his eyebrows. Maybe we'll be doing the eyes for the next 4 videos. I don't know. It depends how long it takes. Oh, itchy nose. Or itchy beard, itchy undernose. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching that. I know not a lot happened, but this is how we do things. This is how we get the results. I will spend hopefully 10 minutes or maybe 2 hours getting those eyes exactly right, and then I'll come back in the next video and we'll carry on and we'll work on the colours. Now the colours is always interesting, so that's fun. That's going to be a fun video next time. A lot of painting you do, sometimes it feels like you're slogging through stuff just to get the end result, and it is. Sometimes it feels like that. Sometimes you do, but it's like, oh, this is great, we get to put colours on and do all kinds. And doing the eyes, doing the coloured part of the irises can be fun. It can be frustrating because sometimes you get it so perfect and then you do a thing and it's ruined and you have to start again. But like I said, nothing is ever ruined, not permanently. You always just change it and you fix it and you make it better and you get better at what you're doing. So that's what we'll do next time. So take care, everyone. I'm just finding out where the button is that I need to press. Okay, there it is. I will see you in part 12. So have a good evening, have a good day, have a good weekend, wherever, whenever you are watching this. Look after yourselves, be nice to other people, be nice to animals, and I'll see you next time. Take care, everyone. See ya.